Shaking my head at what just transpired tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I am your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smith Dog Trill, Rant God, Thanos, all of the above on that ISAT test and that ACT. You know what it is. And tonight's rant, ladies and gentlemen, will be entitled, for the fifth rant of my coverage of Big Brother Canada 7, it will be entitled Undeniably Disdane, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason why I'm calling it Undeniably Disdane is pretty self-explanatory, I believe. It's because Dane completely nuked his game trying to be all cute and loyal to his homies, okay? Dane, you had one job to do today, Dane. You had one job to do. And in doing what you did tonight, Dane, in breaking a promise, and see, this is the real problem I have. They're not showing in the edit the promise Dane broke the same way production was hiding from the edit in Big Brother US, the promise that Tyler, aka Lifeguard Jesus, broke to Swaggy C. See, this is my problem, ladies and gentlemen. When the production outright goes out of its way to not provide full context as to why this person of color believes what this white person says hook, line, and sinker. When you do not, and see, I'm not trying to make this a race thing, but I must provide this context because we saw a direct example of this in Big Brother 20. I have to go right to what we already saw transpired and go, how was this allowed to happen after the clusterfuck of this? And for all the people that thought Dane, and see, here's the thing. I'm going to really provide this as well. I actually liked Dane up until this week. Up until this week of feeds. Before I saw him call Anthony a gorilla and a baboon. Yeah, I heard that shit, bruh. I heard that shit. Monday night, they were getting drunk as hell, okay? It was like a fake little prom night, okay? And Dane, he starts talking about what he loves about people, and he just calls Anthony a baboon out of nowhere. And Anthony is forced to just laugh that off. Do you know how awkward that is for the person that you're categorizing as an animal? You know what I'm saying? And see, I'm not even getting all the way balls deep in my problem with Dane here. I'm still on the surface level just discussing the lie. But see, they're not going to tell you in the edit that he lied on his dead father's grave that he would make sure Mackie survived this week. I'm not lying. Look at my live chat right now. They will back up what I'm saying. He made this promise to him. He didn't have to make this promise. He decided to make this promise. Okay? So when you decide to go out on that limb and make that promise, you got to be the same guy who holds your end of the bargain. And you would have thought Dane could hear all of the fans at this live show. As soon as Damien, and see, that's the craziest part. I'm liking Damien now. After all of the slagging off I've done of Damien is the most improved player award. He has won the most improved player award of the week. You know what? I need to do weekly awards or something. I just gave myself an idea because Damien definitely is running home with that MIP award. He's running home with it. Okay. And see, Damien did what a lot of people didn't think he would do, but I'm glad he did it. He forced the tie. By forcing the tie, the entire live audience went crazy. They went berserk. As soon as Dane realizes it's a tie, he should have jumped to the conclusion that clearly Canada does not want me to get rid of Mackie. He still went against probably his gut. He went against his gut completely for these guys. And see, my biggest problem with you, Dane, is this move directly contradicts your early move of wanting to backdoor Sam. In what way, in what universe does it make sense to get rid of Mackie over Kira when Kira is closest to Sam? This doesn't even make any sense. So the person you wanted backdoored, you're going to give them another ally to keep them safe? What kind of dumb fucking gameplay is this? This is something I would have expected from Damien, not Dane. And that's why I thought Dane would be the likable hockey player. Boy, was I fooled. And I'm rarely fooled, ladies and gentlemen. I'm rarely fooled. But to be fair, I think all of us were fooled a bit on Dane. You know, we all came into this game thinking a guy who has lost as much as he lost should come into this game and just piggyback off that, cherry pick off that, and he'll be loved forever. Like, bro, you started on second base too from a likability standpoint right there, just from your narrative. Who throws all of that away for a guy's alliance when the guy leading it is too pressed by pussy? Can we be honest with ourselves? And I'm just as disappointed in Anthony, ladies and gentlemen, because the majority of superfans view Anthony as just a minion. even though he clearly is playing the best social game out of all four of them. But the problem is, even though he's playing the best social game, he's taking no risks because he's not taking any risks. No one can give him any real credit for anything he does because he's done nothing. And that's the reason why his social game seems so good, because he's taken no risks. Therefore, he hasn't had anything negative happen to him specifically. But I mean, damn, Anthony, you're going to bat here for people who labeled you a baboon, a monkey. You going to bat for them? Nah, man, I can't co-sign that, coach. Swaggy C would have never co-signed this shit, coach. And I'm not trying to come at Anthony and his character, because right now I'm pretty sure he's between a rock and a hard place. He thinks at the end of the day, I can't really flip on these guys because these guys are the only shield I got. And if these guys are already making me appear, if they're already categorizing me to be this huge beast of a man, if I flip on them, everyone's after me because I have no one to protect me. I get that side of it, Anthony. But at the same time, brother, for you to be down with getting rid of Mackie, and see, that's the thing, Anthony. They gave you a nigga wake-up call tonight. Let's just call it what it is, coach. And I don't like saying that word during my rants, but I got to be honest here. During that HOH competition, after the tie, after Mackie was sent home, Sam went out of her way to pick you and Corey versus each other, okay? She went out of her way to do that. She didn't pick Kiki versus Estefania. She could have picked those two to go at each other earlier than they actually did. Instead, she didn't do that. She picked you, Anthony, letting you know that you're on the bottom just as much as all of these other people think they're on the bottom when they're not even in on this huge alliance that you think that you're in on the inside on. Like, let's just be real here, coach. And see, once again, I don't want people to think I'm poo-pooing the season. See, I cannot be this emotionally invested in 1 week of feeds unless I see the potential of said season. So understand, I'm loving what I'm saying. Certain things I don't like saying, but at the same time, though, by Chelsea winning the HOH tonight, that lets me know Kaylin is right out the door after Mackie, most likely. I don't see Chelsea making a single move that is going to come back on her. And the best move to make at this opportunistic moment, because there is no Mackie to clap back, is Kaylin. It's the obvious choice. She's just going to be looking for a fucking pawn. So we were looking forward to great feeds this week, but we might not get no great feeds because Chelsea, I don't think she's going to be an entertaining HOH. I just don't. I think she's going to play it smart, play it close to the vest, let Sam be more of the target, let Sam hang out in her HOH room most of the time with Adam, allow them to constantly paint targets on themselves, and that will also allow Chelsea by comparison to look like someone that isn't that close to Sam, because even though she's letting her use her room, she's also not with her alone in said room. So I expect that to be her play. But at the end of the day, Dane, bruh, because this rant is really all about you, Dane. You completely threw your chance of winning this game out the window, in my opinion. You threw your chances of possibly winning a Canada's favorite player out the window tonight as well. And honestly, judging by the fans' reaction to that tie vote, you probably lost the majority of Canadians. I can't really speak on the majority of Americans because the majority of Americans don't watch this show. This is Canada's show. I think you lost a lot of people here tonight. And honestly, if I'm Anthony, once again, this guy lied on his dead father's grave to get this guy Mackie out the game. I contributed to said move, and Sam still picked me for the HOH comp over two other people that should at least be more distant from her than I am. I'm clearly on the outs. Anthony, you need to be working on your contingency plan as soon as possible, coach. You need to be working on your rainy day fund. And as for the young bloods, Kiki and Estefania, you two had a great episode. And now, based off of that tie vote, you all should know that Mark and Dane ain't shit. I mean, Dane breaking that promise. And then for him to try to soften the blow a bit by saying, sorry to the man upstairs and sorry to the man below. Man, fuck all that shit, man. Let me know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, nah, bruh. And kudos to Mackie. I think he took it on the chin. He said he's plagued the house, which I thought was, hey, he still left with some class. He didn't curse. He didn't do none of that. You know, he didn't give them none of the ammo they could have then used. See, that's why we got rid of him, because he always was that cold-blooded Iranian. Ain't that right, Mark? And Mark, you ain't let off the hook either, ladies and gentlemen, to let you all know about Mark. Mark has approached Eddie Lin and asked him if he was secret Chinese intelligence, okay? He basically asked him if he was some MI6 fucking Mission Impossible type shit, some James Bond shit, okay? Very disrespectful. very xenophobic, you know. And see, once again, Mark, he's making himself look like a dick. Dane, he's ruined his social game completely. His social capital has gone down the drain completely. And then Anthony, the guy who should be making all of these relationships outside of their alliance and outside of the Chelseas and Sams of the world, and I guess Kira now, he's not doing that because he wanted Mackie gone so bad when Mackie would have been the perfect person to flip on the guys in a line with. So at the end of the day, Anthony, you're putting yourself into a corner now where you have to rely on the men, but you can't rely on the men until Sam is gone. But because all of you guys were down to keep Kira, you make it even harder to get rid of Sam. So this is the same problem I had with Dane. And this is the same problem I have with Mark. Because Mark and Dane, if y'all had a Final Four with the Young Bloods, why did y'all want Mackie gone? You guys, the first moment to show them some loyalty, y'all jump ship. Now they know the Final Four is completely fake. I mean, this is just... Man, I wish I was in on this season. Mainly because there's so much gameplay being allowed to happen at once. Usually, people are considered, oh, you're playing too hard too fast, bro. Everyone's playing too fucking hard too fast. So it's almost like if you don't play at all, you look like the person that needs to go. And I'd argue that was Kira's problem. She wasn't really playing at all because she was too fucking emotional. And you saw Kaylin put her in her place tonight. I'm glad they showed that. But now I'm worried that they put that in the edit late because Chelsea won HOH. Now I'm even more worried. You see what I'm saying? I can talk myself into this. Oh, yeah, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I will be answering questions tonight because this was a live fiction episode, okay? But I mean, I got to freestyle this shit. And tonight, we saw another Ica secret scene. I think it was underwhelming again. I got to be honest. But they did show the Kaylin part of her shitting on Kira's whole life, so that made it feel a little bit better. But, you know, I just think it's funny, though, because Kira has these tendencies to play the victim of convenience far too often. And I think they're a bit surprised that the white girl crying strategy isn't as effective for someone that wants to be known as a non-binary player. And, you know, it's interesting. When you kind of take away 50% of the femininity within you, it kind of makes all of your tears, I hate to say it this way, it kind of makes 50% of your tears seem like they're not real in a way. And I'm just being honest. And it's not really working for her in this game because meanwhile, look at the heterosexual women in this game. If they cry at any moment, men are there to comfort them. Okay. So at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be sexist with this and I'm not trying to be homophobic with this, but I'm just providing context that certain strategies aren't given to players that think that they could just be this genderless player. Oh, you don't get certain advantages the way I thought preseason you would get in theory. She's not getting it. And did you see the way Eddie Lynn shitted on her life when he voted tonight? Oh, he voted with his chest in that shit, coach. Okay, so he can't stand her. So the fact that Dane broke a promise on his dead father's grave to get rid of Mackie when Eddie was working so hard to protect Mackie, Eddie's going to feel a certain type of way about this. And I'm sure Estefania worked as hard as she did to win that competition tonight, mainly because she was the one in that room who tried to mend the fences between Mackie and Dane acted like the shit was cool, but it wasn't. So now Estefania knows for a fact Dane ain't shit. And to let y'all behind the curtain even more, Dane is in love with Estefania. So this is even more confusing now that I added that wrinkle, right? So you're in love with Estefania. You make the deal with her to keep Mackie. You go back on that, and you go back on a huge promise that you made that was contingent on a dead relative. So not only did you lose the girl that you claim to be in love with, now the only person you can really cuddle with at this point is Eddie Lynn. Your lap dance partner. That's really the only person that you could do that with. And I think after sending Mackie home, single-handedly, by the way, because the other five don't matter at this point, Dane, you did that yourself, coach. Eddie not going to want to fuck with you no more like that. And now with the Chelsea HOH, now everybody got to be on their toes. So that's good because we're going to see a lot of people try to pivot, but that's the problem. Kira was the apex predator threat for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? And Mackie was rated as low as he was for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. By my system, it makes no sense for Mackie to not survive sitting next to Kira in any season of Big Brother. It makes no sense unless you add the variable of race. I hate to say it that way. The variable of race changes things. It changes the way people perceive immediate initial threats. It changes the way people perceive someone's trajectory and potential and their pregame strategy. Because Mackie is a guy with no intellect of the game at all. and he makes mistakes over and over again. But those mistakes are always predicated on his lack of knowledge and his ignorance, okay? And because it's all based off his ignorance, and because Kira's mistakes are all based off her clearly being a super fan that's trying to transition, no pun intended, transition into the environment of the game, that makes her more dangerous because now her story, her narrative is more of a winner's arc than Mackie's would have been. You get where I'm coming from? It just doesn't make sense for any of the 5 that voted to keep her, minus Sam and Chelsea. It didn't make any sense. Mark and Dane are out of a Final Four. That could have been their other option, just in case Adam decides he's going to go to the Final 3 with Chelsea and Sam. They don't have that solution now. Now Adam probably has a different solution. I can go to Final Four with Kira, Sam, and Chelsea now. See, you guys created a different Final Four that Adam can have on the side now because y'all are so fucking stupid in this vote. Man. And we're going to get into a lot of live feeds talk, by the way, too. But I got to grill people because y'all know me, man. I took a day off yesterday. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to relax a bit. Plus, I felt like the rant I gave you on Sunday encompassed everything up until this point, and it did. I saw yesterday's episode earlier today, and I said, ooh, I dodged a bullet there. You feel me? That rant wouldn't have been that good, coach. I would have been shooting some blanks. I would have been reaching a bit, but I never reach. You feel it, dig me? But anyway. So yeah, so it gets revealed Monday night while everyone is drinking that Kiki was the one who initially told the house about Kaylin's Mama K nickname. I'm probably the only person who caught this conversation because it happened while everyone else was talking, very drunk, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. But Kaylin said enough to let me know she was disappointed in Kiki and Estefania for spreading this information. I think Kiki spread this info, but Estefania was the first one to know the info because she was closer to Kaylin before Kiki was. Now, let me get into my point of this. This would explain why Kaylin didn't remember telling Kiki about her nieces and nephews. Now, to let the curtain back a bit, the only reason why she is known as Mama K is because she hasn't told the house how many kids she actually has. All Kaylin has told this house is her nieces and nephews refer to her as Mama K. She never once gave them the permission to start calling her that. All she did was tell this select story to a select amount of people. Those people spread the story around and they decided for themselves to call her Mama K. So I want to provide that context there because that Mama K nickname put a bigger target on her naturally. And because Kira kept trying to paint the target on Kaylin to get Mackie out, Chelsea is going to follow through with what Kira wants, most likely because it is the easiest route to have an HOH with no blood on your hands, ladies and gentlemen. And because Chelsea doesn't have to compete, and I'm going to talk about this new twist, by the way, in a second. HOHs do not get to compete in veto competitions now, and I think that's going to have a positive impact on the strategic side of this game, and I will break that down later, ladies and gentlemen. That's something for you to look forward to right before questions. Let's continue, though. Okay, and it would also explain why Kaylin got so irritated as the night went along. Now, let me remind you, this is Monday night when they had the booze, okay? People kept calling her mama. Dane was saying some racist jokes about going black and never coming back too. Yeah, I peeped that too, Dane. I peeped that too. My apologies, Damien. I actually said your name. Which led to feeds coming down, by the way. There was a lot of stuff happening where you could tell production was like, you're not allowed to say racist jokes. You could tell that they were coming down on them a bit, okay? Then Kaylin eventually applies her full court pressure on Adam to get him to expose the showmance. But then feeds get cut for about 30 minutes. And see, this is my problem. We didn't see none of that scene in the edit tonight. We didn't see none of that shit. But I guarantee you we'll see it on Sunday's episode to justify Chelsea targeting Kaylin. Ooh, I'm good at this, man. I know how the editors think, man. And even though this season is still better than BB20, in my opinion, some things leopards can't change in their spots. Let's continue. Now, to be fair, Kaylin does talk way too much sometimes and rarely lets other players do the talking. So adding wine to the mix made matters even worse for her. But at the same time, it makes so much sense why Kaylin plays this way when I provide context that she never gave anyone permission to call her this nickname. In fact, she only told that story in confidence about her family to a couple of players, but everyone knows her from this story. Meaning it's outright obvious how much people discuss her personal life without her being in the room. proving I was always correct in saying Kaylin is doing nothing wrong. On the contrary, she's being treated a bit bogus. Let's continue. So her behavior reacting to it is understandable. People are calling her what is reserved for her blood relatives to call her, putting Kaylin in a lose-lose situation. If she fights this nickname too hard, it's like she's telling the whole house she doesn't consider them a family, which once again puts her into a box of being forced to play nice while everyone else can play how they want to. So she's then forced to allow it to give the illusion she loves these people who clearly don't give a fuck about her if they are trying to minimize her actual family's nickname of her. Let's continue. But Kaylin is being labeled as the person who is so manipulative. The entire house is participating in manipulating her based off her family. But nobody is talking about this because they don't see what black people see while watching these feeds. It's like saying to her, we don't care what you want to be called. We're going to call you what we want, Mama K. That's basically what they're saying, y'all. That quote is dangerous because these same people are clearly calling Kira what she wants to be called. But then behind the black woman's back, they decide for themselves who should be known as what. See the microaggressions here? Kaylin is older, so she can probably peep game on these microaggressions too. So it's understandable for her to slip up while drinking some wine. But at the same time, you could tell women don't like her. Kaylin told the house she's allergic to beer, and they almost got mad at her for stuff that is out of her control from a health perspective. Instead of them thinking there's more beer for everyone else, all the women started drinking beer and wine to make sure Kaylin couldn't get the same amount they were getting. Kudos to Mackie, though, because he was one of the few brothers who stood up and kept it real and didn't allow it to become a problem. He diffused the situation himself the way Adam deserves some respect for diffusing the same situation Sam and Chelsea tried to imply that Kaylin and Anthony wrapped around her finger just because they were black. Now, I'm just mad production didn't show Kaylin expose Adam and Sam on feeds, let alone in the edit. Mark was really bizarre during this night. Soon as they started pouring the beer, he asked Adam to go run a lap in the backyard with him. I was one of the few people that pointed this out on Twitter too. Very bizarre. So you mean to tell me we're cracking open the brews, coach, Stone Cold Steve Austin style. We got the wine popping, coach, unwind with Tasha K style. You know what I'm saying? We finna get lit, coach. And you mean to tell me one of the least athletic guy in a four-man's alliance wants to run a lap in the backyard now? Does Mark know how suspicious he sounded in that moment? And he said it in front of everyone in the dining room, by the dining room table. It's like, how stupid is this guy? Okay, Adam had to shut that shit down and go, bro, you want us to run up and down the steps? Like, why, bro? We're finna get drunk, bro. No, just run the backyard for a second. Like, it was the most bizarre shit. And you could tell Mark knew, I fucked up, but I gotta continue this. No one's playing ball with me to continue this. Fuck. You feel it, dig me? All right, let's continue. This is some bizarre shit. It was so weird because the entire house was hearing it. Adam thought Mark wanted to run upstairs and back. The suggestion was just stupid, especially for people who are about to drink. Because if you're drinking, why would you then want to do cardio workouts? That's just going to lead to you most likely throwing up. It just doesn't make any sense, coach. So once again, this was just the wrong timing to even have this suggestion. And it further telegraphed who Mark is working with. And for him to say this in front of the Youngbloods, he pretty much telegraphed who Dane's working with too. You see what I'm saying? Because Dane was the one who was fighting hard to get the liquor. You feel me? So this was just poor gameplay on Monday night from a lot of players. But we're going to keep breaking this down, ladies and gentlemen, and only the way that RBR knows to. And by the way, keep your questions ready, ladies and gentlemen. All right? Now, this alliance is just too obvious. The only person I'd say isn't in it, obviously, is Anthony, because he has yet to make such a blatant error. But he has made an error. I'm going to be completely honest with y'all, and I'm not going to let Anthony off the hook. He has referred to Kira as that thing. He's referred to her as that in the past on feeds as well. So it's almost as if the toxic masculine aspects of this alliance, and you know I don't even like that phrase, but in this case, it does somewhat apply because these dudes are dicks. It seems like it's rubbing off on Anthony a bit, and he feels like he has to throw out insults to fit in a bit. I'm hoping this doesn't become his MO, but he could easily become just as unlikable in a heartbeat if he doesn't flip soon. And I'll break that down soon as well. But yeah, so let's continue. So Adam shuts down the offer to run because it was stupid for Mark to say. But then shortly after that, Mark pulls guys to the side and tells them if he mentions it's raining outside, that means he wants a meeting outside. Okay. In my opinion, Mark, I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. In my opinion, Mark was too scared to start drinking before having some sort of a game plan on what not to discuss. So he tried to go for that run with Adam to hash out details. That's fine and all. But he basically exposed how close he is to Adam specifically in that moment. And right now, Adam has enough of a target on him as it is. So this was just poor gameplay from Mark. And by association, this was poor gameplay by Adam there because he was forced to shut it down in a nice way. And he couldn't really take too much offense to it because he didn't want to show up his ally in public. Kiki is in trouble because it's obvious to Adam at this point that she is trying to save Mackie still, even after Mackie said he would go after Adam during his veto speech. I look at this as Mackie's moment to play the Godfrey game. Hell, we saw tonight his speech felt like some Godfrey shit in a way. It was low-key a TED Talk, coach. Mackie low-key killed that shit, if I'm being honest. But let's continue. So even though it wasn't the smartest idea this early, it could get people to keep him because Kira is going after women, not men. Right now, it shakes out at Eddie, Kiki, Estefania, and Kaylin wanting Mackie to stay the most. Now you can add Damien to that list as well, ladies and gentlemen. While the rest of the house is still up in the air. Now we know they weren't up in the air. They wanted Mackie gone. But to be fair, if these four are all in to keep him, Damien and Corey are probably going to keep him too. Now, at this point, I didn't know Corey didn't have a vote, so bear with me. And this is because of their allegiance to the Young Bloods. That would give them the 6 votes. They need to send the non-binary blindsider packing, but they only had 5, which led to the 5-5 tie. All right. But I still have a strong suspicion production will want Mackie gone over Kira. And they got what they wanted, y'all. All right, now, Damien somehow managed to steal Mackie's entire social game with 2 blunt knives, an upside-down bowl, and an upside-down pan. I mean, this guy went full Blink 182 mode. I didn't see this coming out of Damien's social game at all. And frankly, it shocked me to the point where now, I think this dude might win the game now. He at least gonna get there to the end. He gonna get close, because one thing Damien has going for him is everyone knows he doesn't understand the game, just like Mackie, just like Anthony, but he doesn't have any direct ties to anyone, and he isn't linked to anyone directly, even though he clearly is linked at the hip with Corey to the Feedsters. That means him and Corey are playing a smart game amongst themselves, and that means the Young Bloods are making a smart game with those 2 as well, because no one connects those 4 at all. I don't expect Chelsea to throw up any of those 4 during this HOH. She might put up Corey as the pawn. She might, the more I think about it, because who else would she put up next to Kaylin with no Mackie there? Well, I guess they might push for Kiki to go up. I could see the men being really threatened because Kiki did shine in this competition. And then Estefania kind of took the baton from her and beat her to make it look like Kiki wasn't dominating. So they kind of looked even in that competition. But that could have been something that they had planned from the start. I'm not sure. But yeah, I lost myself in the notes for a split second. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. All right, like I said, so basically to paint this picture, Monday night, they're all dressed up really nice. They're doing these like photos, these cast photos. They're like on the steps. They're doing these poses and stuff like that. They're doing couple photos, individual photos, the whole 9. And eventually they just want to have a good time and start dancing. Now, remember in a previous rant, I brought up how when Damien was doing that freestyle, whoever was responsible for the beat couldn't have went to public school because the beat was so trash. Soon as Damien got 2 blunt knives, coach, he turned into Timbaland in that motherfucker. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. This man had a porno beat going. I just got to be real with you. Hakuna Matata. He had everybody. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the Boondocks episode. When as soon as the R. Kelly music started playing, everybody started dancing again. It was like that. As soon as he started playing, everybody was like, hey, fuck the game. As soon as he stopped, they was like, hey, man, I want to go to bed. Like for real. And I want to give Damien credit because he shocked everyone by playing it so well that he earned a lot of points with people. Because he gave, anytime you have someone who can socially take your mind away from thinking about the game, that is someone you want to stay in the game because they give you a sense of freedom mentally and emotionally, right? Damien is giving people this, but he isn't milking it. So as soon as he does it that one time and he gets all of these people pumped and hyped, he stops doing it the rest of the night. Smart gameplay by Damian. He didn't make any of the guys feel threatened by him by quitting while he was ahead. I'd argue maybe Mackie constantly trying to be the life of the party, on top of him being so competitive in those comps, made it undeniable for them to never keep him. But because Damian didn't really even compete in a veto competition and was just thrown up by Adam, he was able to survive over Laura, who was crashing and burning on her own. So that's my thoughts on that, basically. But yeah, I'm very impressed by Damian. I mean, he went full Blink 182 mode. I mean, everybody was dancing. I found this to be shocking and impressive for more reasons than one. First reason being, Damian has been impressive on feeds and is growing into the game. It's actually reminding me a lot of how Paul, dare I say, in BB18 grew in the game. Like at the beginning, he was just this guy no one liked. Then he started to understand the game week by week, and he became such a big threat because once you got someone who already has natural tools to do well, now that they understand the game, now they know how to outsmart the players who've always known the game that they've had to rely on. I think this could be in Damian's future, possibly, okay? I mean, I know one thing, my tune has definitely changed towards dissecting his game. He's been really impressive. I got to give credit where it's due. I don't have an agenda, unlike some other people. Damian made it a point of emphasis to never drum again the rest of the night, which was smart because it shows me he has studied the 48 laws of power. He stopped while he was ahead when he could have played it out. Now people will always have something to remember him for, and if they ever get drinks again, he knows what he can do to participate but not reveal his cards. But one thing I did notice is people are jealous of Damian's relationship with Kiki. I don't think anyone's talking about this yet. I saw Mark specifically approach Kiki on this night and tell her how intimidating her boyfriend is. Kiki looked across the kitchen, saw Damian standing there, and she even doubled down on it and said, yeah, he is a tough guy, isn't he? So I think, even though this was said in jest, I think Mark might be jealous of Damian. But to be fair, Mark, do you have a right to be jealous if your bitch ass couldn't be there for your lady when she needed you the most to keep Mackie? Nope. You don't have a right, bro. You don't have a right. You really don't, bro. I'm just being honest with you, coach. And am I lying yet? Have I lied yet? Nope. I'm still telling the truth. This is another legendary rant. I must be honest, okay? You know, but yeah, so at the end of the day, yeah, I noticed that. Meaning Kiki could be responsible for Damian being a pre-jury boot if Mark gets jealous enough. And when you break it down, Mark's terrible social game, well, when you break down Mark's terrible social game, it makes sense why he wouldn't like Damian. Mark is that guy giving a girl compliments all day to get some affection, seeing another guy get invited places just because he isn't the thirsty one. This has to fuck Mark up in the head. And it would also explain why the men want to keep Damian in the loop now all of a sudden. It's because they know this vote could easily flip if Kiki and Estefania play it right, and they almost got their way. And it would be wise for Damian to acknowledge the fact that Adam threw him up last week, so he really owes the men nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Damian's best possible move is to keep Mackie to have as someone else that can counterattack with him, and the young bloods more so than Corey if he wants to last longer. Now let's get into Tuesday's feeds, ladies and gentlemen. That was all just Monday night, coach. You know what I'm saying? I'm very descriptive, and that's why I took Wednesday off, coach. I knew this was going to be a marathon, not a sprint. All right, let's get it popping. The vote gets flipped into Mackie staying and Kira leaving. But now we know it got flipped again. But bear with me. I got to provide this context because there's only so many hours they could give us in a week to show this in the edit, okay? Now Adam is more mad at Kaylin for it. He and Sam applied full court pressure on Eddie Lynn to hear him out on why Mackie should stay. And Eddie flat out told them Mackie isn't that big of a comp beast because there's lots of people in this game that have been throwing comps. Thank you, Play Possum Phenom. Thank you. He's saying that real shit. And see, that's the thing. Everyone thinks Eddie got this language barrier, but he making the most sense when he talk English. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest, coach. You feel me? And it was so refreshing to see Eddie dictate the game here versus the perceived showman's frontrunners. And we saw it in tonight's edit, that conversation he had with Sam and Adam. Or should I say Saddam, which is one of the lamest names. Adam, you're just not good with names, bro. Retire, bro. Don't name nothing ever. When you have children, let the mother name the kids, coach. Please, let her do it. All right, now let's continue. Eddie has a conversation shortly after with Kaylin, who tells Eddie that Mackie will never forget the sacrifice he's making by fighting to get out Kira. Eddie even implied to Sam and Adam that Kira would win Canada's favorite player, which was a theory I had in the last rant of being very possible. So it's good to see that Eddie sees the game like I see it. I honestly feel like if I was on a season like this, me and Eddie would steamroll people. We would steamroll people, bro. Hey, seriously, this would be easy. Taking candy from a baby. All right, let's continue. As they're having this conversation in the bedroom, people keep coming in and out of the room. Chelsea and Kira both come in and out. Eddie really likes Kaylin, but thinks she needs to stop trying so hard to read people because it's giving off Adam-esque vibes. Eddie makes an alliance with Kaylin called People of Color Power. Eddie, you making it impossible for anyone to dislike you, bro. He said, People of Color Power. I was like, this man's a legend. This man's a legend. Which I'm assuming will include Mackie as well, but since Mackie is gone, damn, he never got to make it in the POC Power Alliance. And see, Anthony, you got a spot over here. If you go grow a pair, your spot is over there. Flip on these bums, man. Be likable, coach. All right? Be likable. It's great to see people of color aligning with each other in this game so unapologetically, if I'm being honest. And it's good to see them even put that in the alliance name. I thought it was beautiful. Eddie is even noticing how Kiki and Estefania are distancing themselves from each other because both of them are a perceived team in the house. Eddie has referred to them as the twins on feeds. Because of this, Eddie doesn't want to talk for too long with anybody, but he still talks more game with her as Damien walks in. Then the three of them, once again, he's talking to Kaylin, if I didn't make that specific. Then the three of them discuss Mackie's strategic blunder so far. Mackie must have had another chance to save himself, but refused to give Sam specifically the promise she wanted. Question is, why would Mackie trust these people if they require so many promises to play with him? Conventional wisdom suggests you are my enemy if I have to keep proving I'm a shield for you. I think Mackie knows Sam and Adam are his enemy, and that's why they want to catch him in a lie. But let's be clear here. Dane was willing to lie on his father who passed away for his alliance to get Mackie out this week. I'd argue if Mackie would have left this week under those circumstances, which he did, Dane would have been as easily vilified as Lifeguard Jesus was for using the death of his father to advance in the game strategically in BB20. And here's the thing. Tyler didn't really get vilified at all because he was a huge productions pet. Dane, you're not going to get that protection, bro. You're not going to get that witness protection. All right. Mark was even lying to people, suggesting he's doing whatever Dane wants. What kind of alliance member puts it on another alliance member, knowing they already promised on their dead father to keep the target safe? Mark is a fake friend to me because of this, ladies and gentlemen. Poor gameplay on Mark's part. Oh, I'm going to dump it on Dane, but I'm going to act like I'll fucks with all of y'all. Poor gameplay. You're supposed to cover each other. And I'd argue that's what Anthony is doing. The problem is Anthony is doing it to his own detriment. But Mark and Dane at this point have dug themselves such a hole. They need each other because they can only beat each other. I mean, that's the real though. But anyway, Mackie starts explaining how difficult it's been to campaign because people keep trying to get him to reveal who he'll target. He thinks people would be fools to send him home now because he sees Kira as easily a bigger threat. I agree with him 100%. His Godfrey-esque approach hurt him initially, but it's helping him now because he has the numbers currently. Mackie clearly told Sam she isn't on his radar, but notice how she isn't telling anybody that part of their conversation. All she is telling is the part where he wouldn't reveal his cards to her. So there definitely is an agenda here. But if Sam was smart, she would always want Kira gone because the women targeting each other doesn't help Sam's game. But now that we know that Kira is in love with Chelsea, she admitted it on last night's episode. That's not a reach. She said, I love that girl. She's in love with her. Chelsea has even said it on feeds that Kira follows her around like a stray puppy. She has even said that on feeds. All facts, coach. So Kira, she has a huge puppy love crush on Chelsea, and I think that's the reason why she's been playing so emotional, because she's not getting what she wants out of Chelsea. Okay. And to let another thing back, Sam also was jealous of Chelsea too. Sam has even had a fight with Adam, telling him, you're only with me because Chelsea was taken. Tell me the truth. So even Sam is a bit insecure when it comes to Chelsea. But to be fair, I grew up with a lot of women that were like this, who knew they weren't on their friends' level. But at the end of the day, you know, you had the really attractive friend that wanted ugly friends. That way they would look better by comparison. And on contrary, you had the ugly women who wanted to be around the fine girls because they wanted to be around the fine men themselves. So pause. But you get what I'm saying. That's the psychology sometimes of young women. I'm not trying to generalize all of them, but I'm just saying that's how grade school and high school usually shakes out. Okay. People use each other for stuff like this. Okay. That's how the guilty by association card initially got used. But let's continue. All right. So basically, like I mentioned it, okay, at the end of the day, she's mad at Mackie. She's trying to protect Kira. I'm talking about Sam. She's only trying to protect Kira because she knows Kira will work with her and Chelsea. And at the end of the day, if Sam had it her way, she would have a final four with Adam, Kira, and Chelsea. And that's why Kira had to stay. Mackie had to go because Mackie is doing nothing to increase Sam, Adam, or Chelsea's win conditions. So let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so like I said, there's definitely an agenda here. But if Sam was smart, like I mentioned, I would have thought she would have wanted Kira gone in this situation because it mainly helps Adam's game and Chelsea's game the most, in my opinion. I still think Sam at any moment could be targeted before any of them. But now that Chelsea has won this HOH, maybe that might change. Maybe Chelsea rises up the food chain. Okay. But that's the funny thing, though, because at the end of the day, Sam is doing all of this out of the love she has for Adam, and I truly don't believe he loves her back, okay? Because he hasn't said nothing by himself. Oh, I really love that girl. It's never been that. It's like, we just have a newfie bond. Like, he's talking like friend zone-y kind of, friend zone with benefits. He's talking like that. He's giving us that energy. She's giving us that. If he ever doesn't use a rubber, I'm telling you, girl, I'm locking it in. She's giving that energy. Let me stop, man. Let me stop. And let's get back into strategy talk, man. Come on, Dave. Let's not get too messy tonight. Let's calm it down, okay? So Sam is already showing signs of being jealous of Chelsea. She seems to think Adam is only with her because Chelsea was taken already. Now, in my opinion, I agree with this idea being a possibility because I thought that Chelsea was picked to have a showmance with Adam. I said that in my WTF rankings. So I'm not shocked for Sam to believe this as well. And to be honest with y'all, do we really think Sam would have been Adam's first choice if every woman in there was single, ready to mingle, and was equally thirsty? Nah. Come on, man. And honestly, I you know what? After watching Fees for a week now, I can honestly say Kiki's the finest one in the house. She's the finest one in the house. At this point, I can admit that. You know what I'm saying? I needed some time to see how they act all the time. You got to know a person's personality to know how attractive they truly are, but that has nothing to do with strategy, so let's continue. So why is she okay with any outcome that involves, oh snap, hold on, I almost got ahead of myself. I scrolled up too fast, hold up. In my opinion, this idea even being a possibility shows some doubt in her heart. So why is she okay with any outcome that involves him winning if she thinks she was his showmantic rebound? You like that? Something isn't adding up there, but could you blame her in this situation, ladies and gentlemen? There's rumors going around that she doesn't even take showers daily. That's a fucked up rumor to be swirling around about a lady. That's a fucked up rumor, coach. But that's the rumor that some of the live feeders have heard about. And I don't know for a fact if this is true, but I would love to see in the comment section below or in the live chat if you can confirm or deny that, ladies and gentlemen. Then add some insecurities to the mix and you have more doubt. If I'm Chelsea, I would immediately start working with the young blood to target Adam and Sam. And that's really the interesting part about this week. Chelsea really doesn't want Kira on her side. She really doesn't. So Chelsea, you have an opportunity here to be likable too, coach. You have the opportunity. Don't do the predictable move. Don't target Kaylin. What is Kaylin doing to your game? Kaylin's doing a lot of shit to other people's game. What is she doing to your game, though? Now, to be fair, Kaylin did out loud say something regarding, and this was when everyone was drunk on Monday night. This was before she started getting in Adam's ass about his showmans. She said something to the point of, oh, I have to watch myself and not speak my truth about what happens in a white world. And I noticed how Chelsea was the first person who called her saying it. And she said, oh, my God, did I say that out loud? And Chelsea said, yeah, you did. So I have a feeling they're going to put up a supercut together. to explain Chelsea targeting this black woman to let Chelsea off the hook because she is the person who is the most known public figure in the game right now. They won't want her to be painted as someone who is targeting a black person for being black. They're going to want to give her more than enough reason to. And I assume that's why they cut feeds as much as they did in that situation, because they could always hold it to use against Kaylin into the future. I'm hoping that this isn't the truth, but I'm very cynical and I'm very suspicious based off of how production has conducted themselves in the past. Not necessarily Big Brother Canada, but other variations of Big Brother, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? But yeah, but notice how Chelsea is still more worried about Kaylin, even though Sam clearly is that one fake friend that is jealous of her. This goes to show how the social disconnect limits someone black from mending fences once bridges start to catch fire. But white players can outright expose their agenda and then be like, that wasn't me yesterday, girl, and all is forgiven, allowing them to extinguish the fire and clean the wound with ease. Why else do you all think Kiki is working with Estefania over all of the white women? It's because she knows she will always be blamed for shit before any of the white women will. So aligning with Estefania at least gives her a fair chance at an equal partnership. And notice, Kiki is being blamed for a lot of stuff regardless right now, justifying this decision in the first place, ladies and gentlemen. And before people go, Kiki's half white, she isn't anti-white. I'm not saying she's anti-white. I'm saying it made more sense for her to align with someone that is of color because she is of color. That's all I'm saying. Now let's continue. The young bloods get a chance to talk alone in the HOH room while everyone else is playing a game in the backyard. Turns out Dane is in love with Estefania and Mark is in love with Kiki, and that's the only reason why the Final Four probably exists. The thirst is real, and it feels like both of them feel pressed to match what Adam has in a showman's himself. Okay? Plus, Adam wants them to get +1s anyway based off his pregame strategy, remember? Thing is, that would leave Anthony there with no one himself because this group of 6 doesn't really like Kaylin besides 3 of them at the most. Will Chelsea end up being Anthony's forced +1? Think about it. And Adam and Sam don't feel comfortable without Chelsea despite Sam's insecurities for a little while. Kiki and Estefania clearly wouldn't want that, but their partners might like it because Adam does. I can see this decision falling on who is really the 8th in the group, leading to some inner conflict that could split the men up and cause an open game to rise from the concrete, ladies and gentlemen. In theory, whoever targets Chelsea first is taking the first shot at controlling the social game. But because Chelsea's HOH, this ain't gonna happen this week. But and I'm sure after her winning this HOH, she's even going to become even more socially Teflon. So this point still is very valid. Chelsea so far has proven to be social Teflon, but it was very telling that even Estefania admitted to Kiki that she knew Sam would work with Chelsea from day one. This is getting good. A little messy, but it's getting good because it backs up what I tell people all the time. This was confirmation that people of color are starting to acknowledge immediately how predictable some alliances are casted to become based off the look of the people alone. This is basically what Kaylin attempted to expound on this past Monday when everyone was drunk, but was dismissed basically just because they were drinking, which led to her telling herself to stop telling her truth. So this shows Estefania is still a very similar player to Kaylin. She's just a younger version, and it justifies my reasons for trying to understand her creating so much distance from Kaylin in the first place, because they want the same thing and read people in a similar fashion, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? All right. Now, at the end of the day, I'm just happy to see so many players understanding the cracks so quickly in this season. This season is very unique in that sense. The power vacuum is up for grabs at any moment. Hell, during this episode, ladies and gentlemen, we saw 3 players go for the same power vacuum to force the flip. We saw Eddie Lynn force one flip. We saw Kira come back, force another flip. And then after that, we saw Estefania clean up, go straight up closer style, and she cleaned up. She went Maya Moore, Minnesota Lynx on their ass. Okay, so this is great. This shows us that people know when it is time to pounce and they can read the room. And if you can get 10 players in one season that can read the room that well, oh, you know it's going to be cracking once it gets to the jury stage. Now let's get to Wednesday's feeds, ladies and gentlemen. Mark asked Eddie if he was a spy for Chinese intelligence. Now, at some point, you got to know when to shut the fuck up, Mark. How is Eddie supposed to even reply to such a moronic question? Why isn't he asking the woman he has a crush on, Kiki, this question about her being Japanese intelligence, though? he is selectively choosing who to be bigoted towards based off who isn't aligned to him. It's so obvious that he's two different people in the game. The guy who wants people to think he's an extrovert on one side that he's nice to, and the people he is a dick towards and an introvert with that he isn't aligned with. If I were in this game and noticed someone so upbeat and positive only when I'm not around, I would connect the dots to this person not liking me. I'm sure at this point, Eddie peeps this, and it's probably a contributing factor to him wanting Kira gone over Mackie. Kira is closer to Chelsea and Sam. Keeping Kira helps the people who had to give him a lap dance to break the ice with him because they can't figure him out. Let's be honest. They did all that shit for you, Eddie, to bring you closer. That implies that you are some homosexual robot that can only be swayed by penis. I think it's disrespectful, and it should be disrespectful to you. And I think that's why Eddie wanted Mackie to stay, because he wanted someone to relegate on your ass. Now let's continue. Dane asks Eddie to be his prom date on Monday, but he's in love with Estefania. This behavior I find to be so bizarre. Does he think doing this makes him more attractive to heterosexual women? Was this simply gameplay to reel Eddie in as he attempted to break his promise with Mackie and go against Eddie's wishes? Why was Adam stripping with him? Don't they know they are perceived as a duo even more by tag teaming the Play Possum Phenom the way they did? Did Dane or Adam feel pressure to do this because someone from the LGBT community has been a target during each of their specific HOH reigns? All these questions are in play, but one thing is for sure. Mark is dropping in likability as Eddie's likability spikes. I don't see a possible scenario for Mark to gain his reputation back, but at least in Dane and Adam care about their reputation enough to do nice gestures for people. Mark couldn't really be bothered with it. And after tonight, can we really say Dane goes out of his way to do nice gestures for anybody? Not really. So it's crazy how all of a sudden Adam, once again, by comparison, looks like the nicer guy. Because up until this point, I don't think he has said anything homophobic, transphobic, racist. I think Adam he's dodging all that bullshit right now. We might not agree with how he's playing the game, but you can't say he's doing anything that is malicious yet. So you got to give him credit there, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Now let's get to breaking down the past two episodes, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm pretty much going to breeze past this, and then we're going to get into the question stage. And this is pretty much the final thought stage of this rant, ladies and gentlemen. The HOH can't play in power of veto competitions. Now, I wanted to get into this rule because I find this very intriguing. And if you guys have been following this channel for a while now, you know I've been begging for them to create some rule around the power veto competition to incentivize more players to use their veto. I don't really care who wins it. I just want them to be forced to have to use it because that forces more players to have to pivot. That forces them to have to react. And leave it to Big Brother Canada, the brand that is constantly raising the bar when it comes to twists. Like I keep telling people, I fully expect BB21 to have a twist similar to this because they always swaggerjack BBCAN. All the successful stuff BBCAN does, they swaggerjack. So I expect them to swaggerjack this because this is a new rule that changes the fabric of the game in the future. I truly believe every North American brand of Big Brother should use this twist now. Why? I'll break it down now. I like this rule because I've been asking for something to change in the POV comp. Now HOHs have to be more direct with their gameplay to ensure their targets go home. I like this because too often people mask their own cowardice behind forcing the back door. Now they have to deal with more initial blood on their hands, which also should keep weeks from being more predictable because now nobody can win every comp in a week. Making double evictions now even more intriguing because winning a double eviction veto, in theory, could give a player more social capital than winning a double eviction HOH could. Triple evictions don't really change that much, but it's good that the HOH can't compete for that veto either because, in theory, the whole house could flip on the triple eviction HOH if the right player picked randomly won the veto. See where I'm getting at here? This puts the HOHs, it puts them in a tough spot. You're almost better off winning vetoes every week and saying, fuck the HOH. The veto has become the HOH competition, in my opinion, now. And I believe the HOH has become the veto, in my opinion. Now, this extra wrinkle in strategy is going to separate the class difference between players' gameplays. Do you throw up a pawn knowing you can't compete for veto to replace them? Is the use of pawns now obsolete for players that aren't already in an alliance? Do you create two threats for enemies to ensure your HOH isn't wasted? These thoughts used to go across the minds of HOHs in seasons past, but now it's the center of their concerns in Big Brother Canada 7. This twist, no doubt, gives the women and people on the bottom more of a fighting chance to take down this Pretty Boys alliance, because now everyone has a 20% chance of winning veto as opposed to a 17% chance. And with the HOH not being able to compete and cut deals during the veto competition, the odds of the veto being used have gone up exponentially. And that's really what I asked for during BB20, for production to incentivize players to use more vetoes. The more vetoes that get used, the more replacement nominees, which leads to more blood on people's hands, which leads to more entertainment on feeds. I'm 100% supportive of this twist, and I hope it gets applied to all future seasons of North America Big Brother. Did any of you notice Kira admitting she was in love with Chelsea on Wednesday's episode? The whole house can see she only really speaks to Chelsea, but Kira is perceived as Chelsea and Sam's puppet. So even though Mackie is a threat competitively, I think HOH's not being able to compete for veto should make people less threatened by him and more threatened by Kira's gameplay style, making Kira the best target to get out this week because her staying helps nobody game but Adam, Sam, and Chelsea's. And once again, these guys help those three's games out, you know. Now, if you truly break down tonight's edit, Eddie got credit for Mackie staying until Kira came throwing Estefania under the bus. Then after that, the edit gave credit to Estefania for mending fences between DJ Mackie and Chop Shop Dane, or at least we thought so. So as you can see, in one episode, we saw 3 different players snatch each other's power vacuums in a 10-minute span. This is great unbiased editing so far, and I truly appreciate how everyone is getting their chance to shine. Mackie ends up agreeing to target Sam if Dane saves him in a tiebreaker, but I don't really think he promised to target her if it wasn't a tie. Now, ended up being a tie, and Dane didn't keep his word, so we'll never know if Mackie would have kept his word. But at the end of the day, though, I thought that was some sucker shit. Like, point blank. It was undeniably disdain of you. Undeniably. All right. Now, Mackie ends up giving a unique speech, which I mentioned before. It's kind of hard to break down the speech. It's something you had to see for yourself to truly believe he did that shit. It wasn't so outlandish that it led to him going home. He basically just said, for the people who are voting for me to stay, I truly appreciate you. And for the people that are on the fence, you know, now or never, because if you don't vote to keep me, then it's going to be something that you regret in the future. And even if that doesn't include him being the one that makes you regret it himself, I still believe these players will regret essentially handing the car keys to Sam and Adam. And this will do nothing but lend more credence to people that think Sam and Adam have now usurped everyone else as the premier production's pets. So we'll see. We'll see. But one thing I find interesting is how unsure Kira was of Mark specifically voting to keep her. If they do happen to stay over Eddie, it will be key to see Mark's relationship with Kira going forward, because in theory, Kiki should be working Mark to dislike Kira more each day. And if Mark is truly in a Final Four with the Youngbloods, he has to vote to keep Mackie here, or he risks Dane being outed as well. But Mark votes Mackie out, of course, like we all expected. Eddie completely snatches Kira's wig during his vote for saying they wouldn't associate with quiet people. Something tells me Eddie took some exception to an LGBT member outright dismissing his gameplay. I mean, when Eddie had that much emotion in that vote, it let me know there's some things off feeds and off the edit that Kira has done towards Eddie that we haven't peeped yet that would have really made her look worse and probably would have helped Mackie's case even more on the public opinion side of things. But we'll never know, I guess. But if we see her treat him like shit from this point further, then we'll know that she probably did something even worse earlier, because he ain't forgiving her for shit. Now let's continue. Shout outs to Damien for not being a beta male tonight and stepping up to the plate to prove his loyalty to the Youngbloods. Now the Youngbloods know for a fact that Mark and Dane ain't shit, and it's wise to work with Damien and Corey instead. So I'm glad Damien did that move and didn't force it to be a 6-4 vote, because I believe the Youngbloods learn nothing from this vote if it's a 6-4. They still believe that well, put it this way. If it was a 6-4, they would learn something, but they would be in a worse situation because they wouldn't know who to trust at all. You see what I'm saying? Because Corey didn't even get to vote. So at the least, they would think we can trust her, but they would be unsure of Damien. They would be unsure of Mark, and Dane just sent him home. So they would definitely not be sure of Dane regardless. Well, actually, it wouldn't have been a tie. So they still would have been unsure of Dane. So yeah, so Damien did this was great for Damien's game. He screwed Dane and Mark by doing this. And I don't think Damien even thought that hard into it. I just think he felt like he was doing the right thing, because I think he just genuinely grew to respect Mackie because they both started to apply the same type of social game. I'm being honest. Now, let's continue. Dane completely nuked his social game by breaking a promise on his dead father. This is the same move Tyler made, which I mentioned previously, but I guarantee you more people will be outraged by this than Lifeguard Jesus, and that's because Dane ain't no Teflon Apex pet the way Tyler was. I expect the edit to be ruthless with Dane in the future as a result. This just further backs up my argument that a black person is less likely to be forgiven for a mistake in the game than a white person is, because you see the same thing happening to other people of color. But why was Mackie and Swaggy C worth breaking these unthinkable promises with? Why go to these extremes just to make someone of another color feel comfortable with your shady gameplay? Can you really call yourself a good player if you can't play your way out of a situation without lying on the dead in the first place? All these questions are relevant to breaking down the psyche of a player desperate enough to do this move. And for what? Doesn't this lie directly contradicts Dane's wishes of wanting Sam backdoored? Why save Kira when they will only be a number for Sam's side? And now, with Chelsea winning HOH, they went from a possible net negative of 2 to a net positive of 2, all from this terrible play. No matter how you shake it, Dane absolutely threw his game away tonight. And Anthony is throwing his game away too by allowing Sam and Adam to have another number on their side that doesn't owe allegiance to the rest of the pretty boys. Anthony's lack of experience with the game is starting to show now more than ever because he is perceived by many superfans to be a minion. Their negativity is rubbing off on Anthony, okay? They let their fear of a person of color lower their own chances of winning the game. That in itself is pathetic. Sam even picked Anthony versus Corey during the HOH comp. So Anthony's vote for the team isn't even being valued, further justifying my reason for wanting this brother to flip. I think Dane pretty much ruined his chances of winning the game. So now Dane next to Anthony leads to Anthony going home. Mark probably gets more votes too. So Anthony is on the bottom doing dirty work and is getting no positive reinforcement in the game in return. But at least Anthony was smart enough to throw this comp to Chelsea, though. I was really worried he was going to try to win this comp. It's not going to look good for 3 straight men to win HOH. I'm glad he at least made that business decision to not want this HOH, because this HOH would have been pushed. Go after Kalen. And the optics of this big brother targeting Kalen would have looked terrible. I'm glad he jumped out of the way of that. But at the same time, though, Anthony, that also was a involuntary ally that you just allowed to be thrown to the wolves by throwing this competition as well. So while I'll give you credit for throwing it because it was the best move for your game specifically to last as long as possible, it also was a bad move because you were allowing your fellow sister, right after another brother of color went home, you're allowing her to be the next one on the chopping block. And isn't that a little too predictable for people of color to be whacked one by one back to back? You know? But I feel like if Anthony was a true super fan of this game, he would see this all telegraphed from a mile away. And he probably would at least try to beat Chelsea in that moment and then throw it to someone who isn't going to throw up Kalen, probably Estefania. You know, I would have preferred that outcome for him to prove he's smarter than Chelsea, then backed out. But at the end of the day, though, hey, you can't predict that Chelsea would have automatically beat Estefania, and I'm sure he would have preferred Estefania winning because I think him and Estefania did have some sort of chemistry at the beginning stages of this game. It fell off and she's not into him. And that's not his fault. That's not her fault, but it is what it is. Now let's continue. Thing is, I know these house guests had to have heard that loud reaction from the crowd when Damian forced the tie. So my final question before we get to questions is, why would Dane go forward with that lie when he knew that the entire crowd went nuts as a result of a tie? Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to questions, because I'm sure there's going to be somebody's question. But at the end of the day, I just don't get it, Dane. I just don't get it. How do you read that writing on the wall and go, I'm doubling down on this? It's the move I need to make. Like, bro, if anybody's celebrating the tie, they're celebrating it because they're tired of people just following everybody else's gameplay. We're tired of that ant shit. We want to see a whole bunch of spiders duke it out, coach. All right? All right, I'm on my way to the live chat. Shout outs to the mighty mods, by the way, for holding me down. I didn't even check the feedback yet. Real talk, I didn't even check the feedback. I could have been talking to nobody for the past hour, for all I know. Okay, never mind. People are watching. It is popping. It is popping, coach. All right, I'm back. I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, here to answer questions. How are y'all feeling tonight on this Thursday night? Yeah, man. Hey, Rod, I do think he's the new. Hey, man, I do think he's the next lifeguard Jesus, man. But we got to think of a new nickname for him. It's got to be something that has to do with hockey. Okay. I just can't think of nothing right now because I'm not a huge hockey fan, so I don't really get the terminology as well as the average person. But at the end of the day, yeah, bro, yeah, he's on that lifeguard Jesus shit the way he playing. Pamela Walker asks, they got rid of Mackey. I thought everyone wanted him to stay. Yeah, Pamela. Man, when I tell you that the strategy was so fluid this week, I mean, it kept flipping. 1 minute Mackey is safe, and then Mackey accidentally slips up and says another thing to somebody that pisses them off. And it's like, damn it, Mackey, fuck. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, even though he screwed that up, this should be an indicator that he doesn't know what he's doing and that there's no possible way that he could dominate this game heading into the future because of his limited knowledge of it. And then you got someone like Kira, who clearly had a video montage of her saying, I'm going to act like I'm weak when I'm really the strongest person here type shit. And then everyone goes, you know what? We're going to selectively forget about this in a week with a person of color's next to you. I don't know, man. I just think that's bullshit. BMG, thank you for telling her it's been flipping all week. I appreciate that. Yeah, Kira is way too emo. She's way too cringy. You know what I'm saying? Way too cringy. And I think a lot of these players really are thirsty for a showmance. And I think it's because Adam and Sam are setting a tone and it's making everybody want what they have. When in reality, Adam ain't even into her like that. Hell, Adam on Wednesday's episode even said if he has to cut her, he will. Justifying my theory and my prediction that he will lane her ass. He will. Okay? He will. You can and you will type shit. Shout outs to Arissa Cox, the queen of all hosting Big Brother, coach. You know, okay, there is no Canada favorite player. Thank you, BFG, but they might change that shit this season. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I got to keep throwing that out just in case, coach. Yeah, she has one to do that. Who don't shower, huh? He funny as hell. All right, let me see if y'all got some questions, man. I'm over here. Oh, by the way, BMG, thank you for sharing that website. Let me see. Any more questions, ladies and gentlemen? I don't really see much questions. Let me go all the way to the bottom. All right. He said, Jay Griff, you funny as hell. Okay, Budgie asked the question, does Anthony have any sway with Chelsea to keep Kaylin off the block? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You feel me? And at the end of the day, now that Mackey is gone, it is such an easy layup pick. It's the easy decision. If anybody is in this HOH and you're not aligned to Kaylin, throwing her up makes the most sense. But I heard people talking about backdooring her up until the moment that they found out that the HOH couldn't compete for veto. So it just goes to show they're scared of her on a whole nother level. They don't even want her to compete for veto because they think that she might be reading people's minds or something. I mean, you saw the way Kira was talking to her. You like to get in people's heads and you like to read their minds. And, she's over here trying to basically shit on Kaylin in Kaylin's face. And then Kaylin straight up tells her, well, the way you're playing puts you in this situation. And the way I'm playing didn't put me in that situation. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't think there's anything Anthony can do. And frankly, I don't think Anthony, if he wasn't willing to stick his neck out to help Mackey, who by proxy helps Kaylin, he ain't going to stick his neck out to help Kaylin either. You feel it, dig me? And see, at the end of the day, once all these other people of color are out the way, it's going to be real easy for everyone to turn their sights on Anthony and go, why not? Double eviction. Get him out of here. That way we don't have to sit through 6 days of people thinking we're racist. They can just sit through 50 minutes of it. You feel what I'm saying? I'm just saying, man. And I'm not saying they're racist. I'm just saying it would make more sense to want to get out somebody who it could be polarizing to get out the quickest possible way. Okay. But yeah, great question, though, Budgie. I appreciate that. Axia Haig asked the question, since only people of color voted to keep Mackey, do you think that Damien is part of that alliance since he's Native American? Technically, he's Native Canadian. Technically. Well, actually, Canada is part of America, so that is Native American. And you know what? You do got a point there. First Nation is Native American. And CM asked the question, is Anthony a part of the people of color alliance? No, he isn't. He isn't aware of its existence, even though he sleeps in the same room as these people. He's not even aware of its existence. And that's because he's trying so hard to cover up for these guys who are trying to throw him under the bus every second. I mean, look, I cannot play my game trying to cover up for a guy who categorizes me as a baboon. I'm sorry, bro. As soon as I hear that, okay, bro, I'm going to deposit that into my mind, into my space, and I'm finna flip on you, bro, because I ain't with that shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I know the deal, man. I know the deal. Anthony thinks, man, I could just be at the end with Dane and just win the game. But that route is just too dangerous, man. Because going down that route leads to everyone acknowledging the fact that they can beat Dane. Now everyone's going to be fighting each other and not Dane. Dane could just sit back knowing he's going to the end no matter what because he's an asshole. And everyone else is just swinging on each other, turning on each other, ruining their own votes with each other just to drag Dane with them. Then somehow Dane wins it because everyone ruined their jury management. And that's the one scenario we really don't want. Because then we looking at this season like, damn, so much potential. What's good though, Tyree? I see you, family. All right, let me answer some more questions, ladies and gentlemen. BMG asked the question, do you think Kevin kind of threw Kaylin under the bus in the Wendy's commercial? Yeah, I think he did kind of throw under the bus in the Wendy's commercial. I think he did, you know, but I don't think he meant to throw her under the bus, but it did throw it. I don't even think Kevin wrote those words. I think those were words fed to him. So I don't think you should be mad at Kevin. That's what I'm getting at. It would be real easy to blame Kevin, but in this situation, I'm not going to blame him. Someone wrote that script for him. That's just how I'm going to look at that. But yeah, that's my answer to that question. Jay Griff asked the question, who do you think will be the first to go from the Pretty Boys Alliance? I think the first to go is, at this point, it's looking like the first to go is most likely going to be Adam. If I had to be completely honest, I think the first to go is going to be Adam. And the only reason why I say that is because if someone is going to target men, it's not going to be anyone that's aligned to Adam from the women's side. Like put it this way. Adam's going to be working Chelsea to not throw up any of the men, right? So that means the only people who possibly could target the men are Kiki, Damian, Corey, Eddie, Estefania, like that chunk, basically the chunk that voted to keep Mackie, right? That's really the only group of people that will legit target the men. And they would go after Adam over anyone else, especially under this scenario where the HOH can't compete for veto. You got to throw Adam immediately. Worst case scenario, he takes himself off. Who cares? At least we replace him with another member of that alliance and one of them is guaranteed to go. You feel what I'm saying? But what you don't want is a scenario where you don't nominate Adam because you're shook, right? And then he gets picked for the veto anyway. He wins it. He takes someone off with him. And now you pretty much got to pick between the two worst possible options of people to go home from that alliance. And that's what we really don't want. We don't want a situation where Anthony is sitting next to, I'm trying to think, who would Anthony sit next to? That would be bad for Anthony. Oh, Dane, because I think Dane would stay over him. I think Dane would use this stuff. I think he would keep using his dad as the reason for why he should be kept in the game, yada, 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 yada. And everyone, meanwhile, I think Anthony, if he was put in that situation, he should flip it on him with his final speech and go, hey, man, this dude lied on his dad's name. You feeling dig me? Like, if there's anyone's word, y'all should believe it's me. Now, I don't think Adam going to get that dirty with him, but it would be good to see somebody flip that on Dane. If that payoff did come, it would be pay-per-view worthy. I'm just being honest. Okay. Wow. So Budgie says First Nations got screwed over by Canada and they don't even have citizenship. Wow. That's telling right there. Wow. So yeah. So Damien isn't some ringer, huh? Interesting. Devin asked the question, who do you think has the most influence this season? I think who has the most influence? You got to say, I think it's Chelsea. And the reason why I say it's Chelsea is because I truly believe the first person that targets Chelsea is targeting the Teflon social player of the season. And I feel like if you're the Teflon social player, you have to be the player with the most influence, because influence comes from what? Being social. Like you don't really get influence over people just by winning comps. You got to show them that you can put a plan together to make people want to follow you as well. You got to be more of a triple threat. I think the person who is second most influential after her is probably Kiki, and then I would probably rank Adam after both of them. I think that's how it shakes down. I think Chelsea's more influential, and I think she's more influential just because of all of the people she's connected to. She's probably the only person that really has Kira in her pocket, wrapped around her finger. You notice that isn't some negative connotation being put on her game. It isn't, because she just follows me like a stray puppy, or they follow me like a stray puppy. You know what I'm saying? So she's able to avoid that by making it seem like she doesn't even condone of having this person wrapped around her finger, when in reality, we know that Chelsea loves the fact she has someone wrapped around her finger. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. But that's just another form of the double standard, ladies and gentlemen. But do you guys have any more questions? Because we can get it popping. CM asked the question. Yeah, Ghost, hope you feel better, bro. CM asked the question, do you think the target on Kaylin's back is because she talks too much? I definitely believe that plays a factor. I'm not going to act like she's perfect. Her game is very messy, like I said in a previous rant. But at the same time, though, even though her game is messy, she is being painted with a broad stroke to make her game appear more messy than it really is. At the end of the day, she goes hard for the people that she rocks with. The same way all of the men go hard for who they rock with. Are their approaches different? Yes. But whenever a woman is stern in her decision-making, they're always labeled with a different brush. You feel me? I got to be honest towards women here. Whenever, and then when you label them the mother of the house, you force them into another box, which then forces them to not really be able to play the game. And the minute that they do play the game, they're now the villain of the season for playing the game. And now that Kira has stayed after she got shitted on by Kaylin, now it further justifies why Kaylin will be targeted next week. I mean, if you really break down tonight's edit, it feels like they added some shit in late after they figured out how the vote was shaken down. After they figured out that, Dane isn't going to keep him. All right, good. Let's switch this around, because now it makes a lot more sense why they went out of their way to make Mackie throw Kiera and Kira under the bus. Now it makes sense why that same scene was also fit into the introduction piece of the Wednesday episode as well. All of this stuff was meant to paint a certain picture of Mackie to justify him going home, but it backfired because all of the fans in the live audience was rooting for Mackie to stay. So that shows you that the Big Brother Canada fan base is also smarter. It's less casuals, more hardcores, because this is a product that came from another product. And because it's a product that came from another product, this product's a little bit more pure. It hasn't been tainted yet, hasn't been poisoned yet, if you will, by them trying to force certain agendas down our throat. Now, are they recruiting certain people to be on this cast to fulfill a certain form of agenda? Yes, but at least they're not dick riding them and giving them a whole bunch of advantages to ensure that these people are boring for another 12 weeks. You know what I'm saying? They're allowing them to go out when it's time to. But I just feel bad for Mackie though, man. Because from a gameplay perspective, I ranked him that low for a reason, because I thought it was very probable he would be the second boot. And it's funny because when you really break it down, I rated Damien the worst, I rated Mackie the second, and both of them could have easily been the first two boots. Which further proves that my WTF cast rankings is must-see TV. Because sometimes I'm just too on point. I'm too on point. I don't have a time machine, coach. I promise. All right. But yeah, man, I'm willing to take some more questions though before we get on out of here, man, because y'all won't see me again until Sunday. Let me see if there's any more questions in the building. I heard there was a fight. Anyone know anything about it? The only fight that I know of was Kaylin basically pressing Adam about his showmance with Sam. And she basically said, well, you two are from the same place. You look kind of similar. I mean, you look like the ideal showmance. And she was pressing them. Okay. She didn't do it in no malicious way. She wasn't disrespectful, but she was alluding and trying to wake folks up around her to what's going on. She was starting some momentum. All of a sudden feeds cut and we don't get to see what happens. All we see is the aftermath, and the aftermath makes everyone look like they cool with everything again. Like no one's mad. But if no one's mad after the fact, why can't we see what happened, coach? What you got to hide, coach? That's my question. All right. That's my question. For real. But Okay, he said, never mind. Okay, good. That must have been the fight you were talking about. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the fifth rant of my Big Brother Canada 7 coverage. I am your humble host, Dave Smith, and this is Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism, ladies and gentlemen. If you could, please like, share, and subscribe. And on the right side of my channel's page, this might be y'all right side. Yeah, this is the right side. I don't know why I always, see, this is my right, but the way y'all looking, this is y'all right. So on the right side of my channel's page, click on that bell. That way you could be here with the most lit live chat in Big Brother Canada history, bar none, coach. I appreciate it. And this has been Undeniably Disdane. And I hope you all have a great day of work on Friday, and I will see you all on Sunday. Deuces.